Hey guys, Marslingan here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video, and so today we are getting another one of the no item run videos uploaded. This one was recorded the day after the stages came out, because Realm of Gods was one of the stages that was voted on the initial stream to be done on the stream that first day when the events came out, and we got halfway through, and then the next night we streamed the other 5. So that following day at work, I didn't want to touch the 5 new stages because I wanted to save them to do on stream for you guys, but I did go and do the 5 stages that we'd done on stream and no items those, and record them on my phone. So as you can see, the little red dot in the top sort of corner there of the screen. My recording app sometimes crashes. I can have that red thing hidden, but then I don't actually know if it stopped recording until I get to the end and then check. So by keeping that there, I know that it's still recording, because obviously there's nothing worse than getting to the end of a no item run that is actually slightly annoying and then realizing they didn't get recorded. So Realm of Gods, I think this one, out of apart from fusions, I guess, I think this one was probably the most annoying, and the reason for that is the team build and the strategy that I'm going with here is very, very reliant on units actually getting their dodges. So this did take me a couple of tries on that second day, because a thing that happened multiple times was I would get to the very final stage, and then all of a sudden, like one turn, somebody would just not dodge any attacks. And the one thing that you will see as we go through this video is when units who can dodge don't dodge, they take quite a lot of damage, unless we have some special shenanigans going on, because obviously we have the Int, Supreme Kai and Kibito. They can be transformed immediately on turn 1, and they have a couple of different utility options depending on whether you choose to transform them. So they always raise their defense on super attack, which is really nice, but when they're untransformed, they do have the ability to dodge, and then they also have the ability to stun on their super attack. But if you transform them, they lower all the enemy's attack for 2 turns, which is super useful because obviously you're going to take a lot less damage. And when they attack an enemy, they stun them guaranteed for 2 turns. But after that initial stun, their super attack can only seal. Whereas in the pre-transformed state, they can potentially stun on any super attack, and they do also lower attack. So there's a couple of different scenarios where I would consider transforming them straight away is really useful, and then other times where I wouldn't. Like as you can see here, because we need them to raise their defense on super attack first, having them transformed in slot 1 is not the best idea. Plus of course, when you transform them and lower everybody's attack, it's only for 2 turns. So if we do that straight away on turn 1, obviously once we get a few turns in, it's going to have run out, and then we have no way to debuff the enemy's attack with that unit because they lose the ability to do it on their super attack. Now, one thing that is obviously very beneficial with this team build is we have a whole bunch of units that can seal, including the Kibito Kai once they've transformed. We've got Whis and Vados, who we are running as a rotation here. Whis, of course, has a 70% chance to dodge. He lowers attack and seals on his super, and then Vados has a 50% chance to dodge, and she seals and lowers attack on her super as well. So once we get down to there only being 3 enemies left in a fight, it becomes a lot easier, because we can end up having whole rotations where all 3 of our units can seal the enemy's super attack, and we can just seal all 3 of them. And as long as we don't get unlucky and have the one that we were aiming to seal with the 3rd unit super attacking us in the first slot, we can kind of control the enemy's ability to super attack us. But I mean, you can see here, if units don't dodge, like Vados taking 25k from King Chopper, fortunately she managed to dodge the physical enemy, because she will take quite a lot of damage. And then the one unit on the team who we do really need to protect whenever we can is the physical Beerus. So I did try out, when I did the first couple of attempts on this, I tried double STRUI Goku leads, and obviously yet again, you're introducing another unit that relies solely on RNG. But the one thing I was finding is that it was just taking really long to get through all the fights, because obviously he has a much lower leader skill. And I think Beerus is a little bit of a liability on the team because of how he links up with, all the different units that we've brought and the kind of damage that he will take. So double Beerus leads, I think, is doable, but would definitely be a little bit more difficult. And it would put you in a situation where if you load in and you have double Beerus on turn 1, you're probably just going to quit and start again, because that, unless you get very lucky, that first turn is going to be pretty dicey. But We go ahead and transform the Kibito Kai here. Now that we are a couple of turns in, this is now going to give us the ability to lower everybody's attack and then potentially start finishing off some of the enemies so that we can move forward with less people having to attack us. So we've got to rely on less dodges overall. Obviously, UI Goku, the more he dodges, the more he builds up his passive. So once you get a few turns into the event, it doesn't matter as much if he doesn't dodge the odd attack here or there, because his defense is going to be a lot higher. And obviously on this turn where we've used the Kibito Kai transformation to lower everybody's attack, we're not taking as much damage either. So that works out quite nicely. But units like Whis, every time Whis dodges, he raises his defense by a pretty significant amount, but only in that one turn. So every time we go into a fresh turn with Whis, if he doesn't dodge the first attack that comes his way, it does a ton of damage to him. So that's one of the things I was saying before, is like the RNG of this run is probably the thing that is the most annoying. So we get Beerus's active skill off, we get a super attack for him. I mean, you can see there, even with the enemy attack lowered, he takes 30k. Because Beerus, once he takes the first hit, he does up his defense and attack for the rest of the turn. So any subsequent attacks that he takes will do less damage. But that first attack is the one that you have to worry about the most. So I always try and make sure as we're going through the run that wherever possible, any units who are attacking Beerus, I always try and make sure that at the very least they are sealed. And then if possible, hit them with either Whis or Vados so that they will be attack lowered as well. Because ideally, we want him to take as little damage as possible. Sometimes if we get lucky, we can have an int unit, like in this phase, it's Videl. If Videl is attacking him first and then somebody else is attacking him, that's one of the ideal situations if he has to take multiple attacks, because Videl hits him first, and because he has type advantage, he doesn't do as much damage as one of the other units would do, and then obviously that triggers his passive and his defense goes up. And then he takes a little bit less damage from the following attacks as well. But we still need to be very careful, even with his passive active after taking that first hit. If he gets hit by an STR enemy who isn't attack lowered, he will still take quite a significant amount of damage. So that is something that we had to be very careful about throughout this run. And then obviously Zamasu and Gawasu, we haven't really talked about them yet. They have a 50% chance to dodge. They give everyone on the rotation a bunch of extra defense. So that obviously helps out if people are failing their dodges, that we don't take quite as much damage. And then they seal as well. They are a unit that, just like many of the others, if they fail their dodge, they do actually get hit fairly hard, even with that extra defense that they're giving, because obviously they get that as well as everybody else on the rotation. So we have to be very, very careful about them as well. And then finally, the unit that we haven't addressed, that I haven't seen many people using him on these builds, because obviously, you know, for a no items run, I don't think they're necessarily the first unit that you would think of. But as I said, with my first couple of runs where I was running double UI Goku leads, I noticed one of the things that was an issue was that we weren't doing a lot of damage, so the fights were taking a long time. And the longer the fights go, the more turns you have to have, the more times you're having to rely on your units always getting their dodges. So we decided to bring the physical blue boys on the team. Now, they lower attack on their super, as well as greatly raising their defense. So one of the things that you'll notice throughout this run is, as long as we're not being attacked by an STR enemy, they only really need to get that first super attack off and greatly raise their defense, and then they are actually able to tank really well. And of course, the more physical orbs you pick up with them, the more additional normal attacks they get, and the more additional normal attacks they get, the more likely they are to trigger the additional from their passive and do a second super at the end, which of course greatly raises their defense again. So I did give my blue boys, they are 79%, so I gave them a pretty decent amount of additional, and then obviously gave them some good level of crit with the skill orbs as well. Now here, I deliberately don't super attack with anybody before anyone says like I missed certain orbs or anything, because I want to go into the next fight on the rotation with Whis and Vados, because when we go into the next fight and everybody's on full HP, obviously UI Goku is potentially going to be fine in slot 1, but if there's a whole bunch of attacks in slot 2 from enemies who haven't been sealed or attack lowered yet, that is definitely the big weakness of bringing the physical blue boys, is even after super attacking twice and raising their defense twice, if they take a super attack, they take a lot of damage. So that is something that we do have to be very, very careful about. So I deliberately didn't super with the previous rotation so that I could finish off this turn with UI Goku and the Blue Boys, and now we go into the next rotation with the Whis, Vados and the Supreme Kai. So it means all 3 of the units on this rotation can dodge, they can all lower attack, Whis and Vados can seal, the Kais can stun unless I choose to transform them. I don't think I do transform them on turn 1 here, okay. So we're starting off with a fresh new fight. I think it's because I want to float them off here, so I'm very aware of the fact that we're not going to see them come back for a couple of turns. So I go ahead and transform them straight away. This obviously gives us a good opportunity to set a baseline here with all 3 units on the rotation can seal, and the enemies have been massively attack lowered. So if anyone does fail their dodges, they are hopefully not going to take as much damage. And then, of course, Kibito and Supreme Kai, once they've transformed into Kibito Kai, they lose the ability to dodge from their passive. So they do still have 5 dodge because they're an int unit, but they do lose the ability to dodge, but they still greatly raise defense on super attack. So basically, as long as the enemy is sealed and they're super attacking first, we don't really have to worry about them taking too much damage. So they will be fine in the 3rd slot. And then we just need to rely on our angel brother and sister here in slot 1 and 2 to actually get their dodges off. And Whis putting in the work, getting them dodges. Vados seals up and attack lowers Roshi. I always try and target, like if she's being attacked by, say here, like a tech unit and then other units, I always focus on the other units first, because at the end of the day, if she doesn't dodge the tech unit, she's not going to take as much damage as if she didn't dodge the AGL. So try and attack lower the AGL. And then Kibito Kai in the final slot, because we've transformed them on turn 1, they do get the guaranteed 2-turn stun 1 time only once you've transformed them. So that allows us to get the Grandpa Gohan out of the way. I did technically misplay that first turn watching it back now, because I think actually no, he got sealed by Kibito Kai, so that's fine. Because I was going to say I shouldn't have sealed him if I was going to stun him, but that was the additional effect from the Kibito Kai super, so that is actually fine. And then that leaves us in a great position here, because we're going to get the Dokkan attack. Everybody's attack lowered. So if UI Goku, unfortunately, he's not getting any attacks in slot 1. That's the only downside to this particular setup, because obviously every time he dodges, he's putting his stats up a little bit. So ideally, you want him to Dokkan attack after he's dodged a few attacks to bump up his attack stat and everything. But I mean, he's still sitting at a 3 million attack stat. It's a bit of a shame we didn't have a support unit on the rotation for the Dokkan attack, but he's going to be able to go ahead and do some pretty solid damage here to everybody on the rotation. Even Roshi, because of course he disables guard with his super attack effect, so that means he can do decent damage to AGL units. And then here come all the dodges, very nice. Obviously Grandpa Gohan was stunned, so we don't have to worry about him. And then the Blue Boys are going to unleash on the Grandpa Gohan here. Nice big crit. We get a crit on the additional normal, another additional normal crit, and we take him out. And sadly, no follow-up super. That would have been very nice, because that would have gone on to Grandpa Gohan, giving him another attack lower ready for the next turn when he becomes unstunned. And then Beerus coming in clutch here with the super, getting a crit. We almost took out the Crane Hermit. And then, of course, the Dokkan attack gives us the full heal. So basically, we started off this second fight in a really good position here, because now we're down to only 3 enemies. We've got this exact rotation that I was talking about where everyone can seal. Now, Crane Hermit is attacking in the first slot, which is annoying, and then only again in the last slot. So I think what I should do here, yep, I target Grandpa Gohan and then Roshi with Whis and Vados, and then the Zamasu and Gowasu in slot 3 will be able to just finish off the Crane Hermit, because they do get an attack and key bonus when they're targeting an extreme type enemy, so they should easily be able to finish him off with that small sliver of health that he has. Obviously they're not the hardest hitting unit in the world, and Whis, anytime Whis or Vados can double super is massive, because we're attack lowering them again, which means any failed dodges, we're not going to take as much damage. So basically after the Dokkan attack, I could already kind of see, based on the run or 2 I tried before this one, like this position that we're in on this turn after the Dokkan attack, we're definitely doing very, very well on this run so far. And you can see here with the enemies being multiple attack lowered, even failing her dodges, Vados is taking double-digit damage. Helped also in part by the massive defensive buff that Gowasu and Zamasu give the rotation as well. So They come in, finish off the Crane Hermit, and then whilst we do have a type disadvantage, double attack in slot 1 for UI Goku, Roshi has been attack lowered and sealed, so we know he's not going to super us. So obviously the worst case scenario is that UI Goku doesn't dodge his attacks, but he shouldn't do too much damage to us. And then we'll be able to go off here with the blue boys in slot 2 as well. Fortunately, UI Goku does come through with the dodging, and we're at almost a 5 million attack stat with him at this point. So I believe he should finish off Grandpa Gohan here. Yeah, he does. And we get an additional normal attack and do a little bit of extra damage to Roshi. And then the blue boys are going to come in here. They lower attack on their super as well, which is another really useful thing about them. Because not only are they raising their defense, but they're lowering attack. So if they're only being attacked by one enemy, you just make sure that's the enemy you target. And then you're lowering the enemy's attack and raising your defense. So it makes it a little bit easier for you to tank the hits. Now, unfortunately, I was hoping that Supreme Kai would finish off Roshi, because like I was saying on the previous end of fight going into fight 2, I ideally want to go into the new fight on this rotation here, and unfortunately that is not going to be the case. So Whis and Vados will have to finish off Roshi here, and then basically going into the last fight we have to hope that UI Goku is actually going to come through for us with his dodging. Because this is what I was saying about this run being irritating, is in my first couple of tries I got to the last stage, and then UI Goku or Whis, regardless of which one it was that was on turn 1, all of a sudden would just forget how to dodge. And I mean, look at all of these attacks in slot 1. I can tell you right now that without having his passive built up, UI Goku takes somewhere between 70 and 100k depending on who's attacking him if he doesn't dodge. So we really need him to get some dodges here. I'm also banking on him getting dodges. I only picked up the one red orb so we can get him to... if he dodges, as long as he dodges 4 attacks, he'll get his 18 key super. So I'm basically hoping that he is going to come through and do that for us here. And then we go for a seal in the final slot. So it's all up to UI Goku to put on a dodging clinic here. Of course, any super attack that you see coming in this first turn, I'm pretty sure we dodge. Maybe a Krillin one we could survive because we have type advantage, but this would be the situation that you could get in. This is exactly what I'm talking about. When you look at all of those attacks in slot 1, it would be very, very easy to get to this final fight, be doing super well, because like we're on full health and everything basically, and then all of a sudden no dodges in slot 1 and you just die. So this is actually a very clutch start for UI Goku. I forgot about this. We get the additional super attack. So I'm pretty sure we one-shot Krillin on turn... Well, technically 2 because we attacked twice. But we take out Krillin in 1 turn, which is massive because it means this final fight is already down to only being 3 people. And then, as I was saying previously, that gives us the opportunity to be able to lock everybody down with seals once we get all of our various units on rotation that can do that. So blue boys going off again here, getting the extra attack, which is good. That means another attack lower. So hopefully the TN is not going to do too much damage. I'm always trying to think about who's attacking my units in the final slot. So with TN attacking the Zamasu and Gowasu, as you see there, they didn't dodge, but fortunately he'd been double attack lowered by the blue boys, but he still did 70 odd K damage. So obviously now that we've worn the enemy down to only 3 and we're looking really good, this is a perfect opportunity to do the early transformation for Kibito Kai, because now everybody on the rotation is nerfed. So even if Whis or Vados fail with their dodges a little bit, we should be all good here. So basically, with Chaozu sealed already, I only need to target TN and Yamcha. So I decide to target with where there is at least some type advantage, because obviously Vados, with everybody's defense lowered as well with the Kibito Kai transformation, we are going to do a little bit of extra damage. And obviously Whis and Vados together share a ton of links, so they are actually a really good pairing. And you can see here we get unlucky. We don't dodge a super attack from Yamcha, but fortunately with the enemy being so debuffed, we didn't take as much damage. I was genuinely, at that point when I saw him not dodge the super attack, I was very concerned that we might have actually died. But fortunately with the debuff from the Kibito Kai transformation, we didn't actually take that much damage. And so now Although Chaozu's gonna get sealed here and 2-turn stunned by Kobito Kai. So the only other 2 enemies that are now active and able to attack are both sealed and attack lowered. So this is obviously the perfect situation that we want to be in here. So unfortunately, doesn't look like we're going to be able to get rainbow orbs for the blue boys. So rather than risk trying to drop them down, I decided to just go for the all-out physical orbs here, because it gives us a little bit of HP back, it gives us the 18 key super, and so obviously they're going to be able to hopefully come through and deal the damage, because I have given them a pretty decent amount of crit. Even though we didn't pick up any rainbow orbs to get the extra crit chance, we are probably still going to be able to do some decent damage. I'm obviously hoping for crits, and STR UI Goku definitely coming in and delivering there, doing a nice big hit on TN. So I'm pretty sure at this point that we probably are going to finish off TN with the blue boys. Hopefully they can come through and crit, because even without critting on the super, they did some decent damage. Additional normal attack, no crit needed, and they finish him off. And then Beerus is able to come in and hit Yamcha for a nice little bit of extra damage here. Or apparently I targeted Chaozu. I probably should have targeted Yamcha, try and get rid of him as quickly as possible. I think maybe I'm focusing on Chaozu now, because obviously we do have a lot of STR units on the team. So I guess it does make sense to try and get rid of him as quickly as possible, because any failed dodges, he's obviously going to do more damage because he does have type advantage. And then we're able to seal up both of the remaining enemies and then go in with Gowasu and Zamasu as well. They're just going to do a little bit of extra damage. Obviously not attacking an extreme type enemy, they're not going to do crazy damage. But yeah, you see here, again, this is the kind of turn I'm talking about, where Whis apparently just forgot how to dodge. But fortunately, because we're so deep into the event and the only enemies are, you know, been attack lowered a couple of times and they're sealed, we were okay. But imagine if Chaozu wasn't sealed and one of those attacks was a super attack, that would have been GG run over, because even if the enemy is attack lowered, when they super attack you, they still do very considerable damage. So that turns like that are always kind of scary, because Whis definitely let us down a little bit there. But we're getting very close to the end here. I'm trying to figure out what to do, because I do ideally want to get a rainbow orb, at least one. We do manage to drop those physical orbs on the right down. So even though we're not getting the 18 key super with the blue boys, they're not being attacked, and they raise their defense on either super regardless, and they lower attack on either super regardless. So even though they're not going to do as much damage as they would do if we were getting the 18 key super, this still leaves us in a very good position, because we can just keep applying attack lowering and sealing to the remaining enemies, and then it basically just gets to the point where they can't really do anything to us. So I think, did I target? I should have targeted Chaozu. I don't think I was expecting UI Goku to do quite as much damage as he did, because the blue boys probably would have been able to finish off Chaozu completely on this turn. And I don't think Kobito Kai is going to be able to finish him off here, but he seals him up, and we go into the next turn. Yamcha is not sealed, but he is attack lowered, so of course potentially scary. He could super attack in slot 1 here, and if Whis forgets how to dodge again, that would be not good for us. But in fact, I did target Chaozu with Whis, so I really am banking on Whis coming through with his dodges here, because Yamcha is actually not sealed. I'm not sure if I realized this at the time. So as long as Whis does get his dodges, we're going to be okay. I just wanted to make sure that Chaozu was not going to be an issue here for the STR Whis. So we don't manage to finish him off, but he does manage to dodge all the attacks. So he redeems himself a little bit from the previous one. And then Vados able to come in and seal and attack lower Yamcha. And then Beerus. Did I retarget to Chaozu? I did. Okay, so Beerus should finish off Chaozu here. I probably maybe played these last couple of turns not as smart as I could have. I probably could have finished off Chaozu a little bit earlier. And then I didn't even realise at the time when recording, it doesn't feel like that long ago we got the Dokkan attack, even though it was in the second fight. And we are actually getting a second Dokkan attack here. So this is full on overkill. UI Goku, I'm pretty sure his passive is fully built up at this point. So with no attack support on the rotation, he's coming in with, what is that? 5.69 million attack stat on the Dokkan attack. So obviously, goes without saying that Yamcha is about to get absolutely annihilated by this UI Goku Dokkan attack, and obviously that will be the finish to the run. So there you go. Realm of Gods, no items. Sorry that some of these videos have been getting pushed out a little bit late. I was super busy last week. I wanted to try and make sure I got all the runs done, because, you know, we had to secure the throne by getting all the runs done. But I've been backlogged in trying to upload the videos. And obviously now with the GT Goku event out, I'm trying to push out videos for those as well. So I'm trying to find time to get all of these uploaded. And I thought I would put up Realm of Gods, because I do think this one was, apart from Fusion, the one that I did have the most issues with. But there you go. Realm of Gods, no items. Let me know what you guys think down below. Have you beaten the stage with or without items? It doesn't matter. Let us know your team builds down below. And yeah, I guess we will probably try and get another one up tomorrow. Let me know down below, out of the ones that I haven't put up yet, which one you want to see the most, and I'll try and get another one recorded, as well as more GT Legendary Goku event missions. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.